I'm Rebecca Hintze, and I'm glad to be back with you today. This time we're going to take a little bit deeper look into personalities. Of course, we all have a different personality. We all have individual differences in our personality, and there's a lot of what makes the soup of who we are. So we have our family of origin and where we came from and what we learned from our family of origin. We have our community that we grew up in. That can definitely add to who we are. And then we just have biological differences that make us different. In fact, sometimes people look at the term extroversion. You probably heard it before in a psychology class or an article you've read online. Extroverts, did you know, are actually probably not maybe drawn to that behavior because of their personality as much as they are to biological factors. In fact, did you know that our brain needs the activity of human socialization, and sometimes extroverts are just needing a little bit more of the chemicals we get from interacting with one another, and that's why they're deemed extroverts. So that's a biological factor versus maybe whether you like the color red or the color blue. Well, why are we talking about personalities? Well, different personalities are maybe primed to have more mood challenges. And we live in a world where we face so many different personalities. We have different personalities in our families, in our personal spousal relationships, and definitely in our businesses, in our work environment. And in order to get along with one another, we want to thrive and excel in our relationships. It's one of the key things that makes us happy. If you think about the happy times in your life, it's probably when you've been interacting with other people, when you've had a relationship that's worked well for you. So we want to use doTERRA products to help you enhance those important relationships. And of course, like I said earlier, the most important relationship you have is the relationship you have with yourself. So let's dive in and look at how our emotional aromatherapy kit might work. Now I want to cover some important facts first. It's a small world. You may think that it's a big world and that we're all so different and we have different languages and different cultures and whatnot. But I can tell you from personal experience and then as a research psychologist that anywhere you go in the world, even though we are all different, we're all experiencing much of the same thing. In fact, if we were together in the same room and I said, raise your hand if you've ever felt angry, raise your hand if you've ever felt sad, raise your hand if you've ever felt brokenhearted or afraid, if you've ever felt on the positive side love or joy, you'd all raise your hands because we're all having experiences that prompt us to have the same emotions. So know that we're all very similar no matter what language we speak and no matter what part of the world that we live in. This is why our doTERRA product line just crosses all of those barriers and helps to reach anyone around the world. Now let's talk about symbols for a minute. Our brain uses symbols to learn. We have symbols in our alphabet, for instance, in our lettering, in our language. That's how we learn and grow. I want you to think for just a minute of the universal symbols of plants and what they mean. Now, we often talk about essential oils and the chemistry behind them and how that sort of fits, but I want you to think about symbology when it comes to the brain. And I want you to look at some pictures for just a minute. If I look at a picture of a peppermint leaf, it has kind of pointy edges, it's green, it symbolizes to my brain at a very deep unconscious level that we can get to the point of things, we can be alert and aware, and sure enough, that's a lot of what the peppermint oil does for us. When we look at citrus oils, without even studying the science behind it, you can just smell it and see these beautiful citrus plants, and what do you feel? Happy. And what are citrus plants? They're natural mood uplifters. Let's look at spices. What do spices represent to your mind when you look at this picture? To my mind, they represent boundaries, health, strength, and flavor, maybe passion. How about flowers? What do they say to your mind? I know women love to get flowers. I love to get flowers for my husband. When flowers come to us, they suggest healing and recovery. They suggest renewal and life. And this is what we get when we get a dozen red roses, perhaps, on our anniversary. How about this picture? My husband took this picture and I love it. It's of trees. What do trees say to the mind? Tree suggests that we grow tall and strong, that we plant ourselves deep and we're rooted in the earth. And that's exactly what tree oils do for us. They ground us and stabilize us to the earth. And lastly, how about grasses? Like think of lemongrass, for instance. What does that suggest to your mind? That also suggests to my mind some recovery, some renewal. And if I were to sit myself in a chair in the middle of a field of grasses, I might be able to come to peace or stabilize my mood, for instance, just by meditating out in nature in such a wonderful view. Nature brings our body so much natural calmness just through the symbols that they represent to our mind. So you can put chemistry aside for just a minute and just think of symbols and how you would feel when you put yourself in the environment of such wonderful plants. So what do we have at doTERRA? We have bottles of drops of aromatic compounds that come from all of these plants, and they work beautifully to match our personalities and what we need at certain times. So now we have our emotional aromatherapy kit that blends all of the plants that I just talked about. And our wonderful scientific team have taken time to pull together research both on a chemistry side and on an awareness side, like what I just mentioned to you, to help us to know how we would pivot these very important plants in combination to support different moods that we all have. So let's talk about passion, because it's my favorite. I have to admit, if I'm feeling somber, disinterested, bored, for instance, hopefully that's not why I like it so much, but discontented, bitter, or angry, I love to use passion, and I actually love to rub it just right up here on my neck so I can smell it, and rub it even into my glands in this area, and just rub it on my hands, breathe it, and of course I can use the diffuser and plug it in there. It helps to strengthen me. If I need motivation, and many personalities will need motivation. If I'm feeling anxious, insecure, apathetic, for instance, discouraged, gloomy, or distressed, I can jump in and use my Motivate. And I need that sometimes. If I just am not feeling like I can jump in and face the task at hand, I can roll that on my wrist, again, diffuse it, put it on my chest where I can breathe it. Remember, when you're using essential oils for aromatic usage, you can be a human diffuser. You can put oils right on you, and you want to get that effect through breathing it through your those aromatic compounds through the olfactory nerve in your brain. So wherever you can put it that you can smell it, it's going to have the best effect for you. So let's talk about cheer, because we all need a little bit of cheer sometimes, and I need it when I'm feeling discouraged, gloomy, distressed, somber, disinterested, and bored. I need a little pick-me-up. So luckily I can pull out my bottle of cheer, which does just exactly that for me. And then there's peace. And I said passion's my favorite, but peace might actually be one that I use the most, because we all want to have peace. So if I'm feeling apathetic, insecure, for example, if I'm feeling anxious or feel fearful or worried, which often we all do, we all have a little bit of that part of our personality that tends to worry. If we're hurt, if we've had our feelings hurt, peace is a wonderful essential oil that you can put right on your chest, inhale it, and help you feel better on a regular basis. And maybe one of these is going to stick out to you, and you'll put it in your purse or your backpack, or have it in your office, for instance. My husband loves to have some of these on his desk so that he can be prepared to handle his emotions at work and maybe create more peace in his office. Forgive. We all need forgiveness. In fact, often we think that it's a wimpy thing to forgive. I've heard many people say that in my years of working in the field of mental health. And actually, forgiveness is the strong man's way of solving problems. It's the time when we take those wounds that burden us and we literally give them forward. We forgive them so that we can let go and we can have peace. And in that process, you might need some support from essential oils. Bitterness, feelings of being angry, ashamed, for instance. Maybe you're sad or you're grieving. Maybe you feel discontented and you're just really frustrated with someone. Forgive can be a great oil to put, again, over that chest, breathe it in, and help yourself to let go. I also like these oils that have the tree oils in them, and Forgive is one of them, to put them on the bottoms of the feet and to massage with them. They work very, very well that way. Console is one we all need, and unfortunately in today's day and age, so many people are suffering. You could knock on door after door, home after home, and find people who have been through terrible tragedies. And console is a blend that addresses those emotional imbalances. So we're looking at feelings of being ashamed, sadness, deep sadness and grieving, feelings of being hurt, worried, or even, again, fearful. Apply console on the bottoms of the feet, over the chest, diffuse it as you need it, and let that help you. This beautiful blend of different bottles. I love the packaging, for instance. You can just walk your finger around that wheel and find the emotions that you're feeling imbalanced and start to use them. And these beautiful blends really do bring balance and harmony to your relationships and help you to balance your personality. Now, I love it when I teach a class to invite different people with different personality types to come up. And it's interesting because I see a pattern with people who have different types of personalities and the oils that they like to use. Some may use oils that are even beyond what you see in the emotional aromatherapy kit. They might use some in the Mood Matrix program that we originally had. The Citrus Bliss, the Elevation, the Serenity and Balance blends work very, very well for mood as well. And it's okay if you have your favorite, because all of us have certain strengths in our personality and certain weaknesses, and we might tend to have certain regular emotional imbalances that draw us to certain blends. So find your favorite, and if you have it, plop it in your bag and carry it around with you and use it on a regular basis. Let me just emphasize as we end that our emotional state is up to us. What we think about does influence our neurochemistry. And it's important to break up patterns of thought that are unhealthy. Just like a roadway, if you have a way that you drive to the grocery store, or a pattern that you have developed as part of your routine and you need to break it up, doTERRA essential oils can help you in the process to break up that pattern if it's not working for you. Now, if it's working for you, great. But if you find yourself going to anger and you know you shouldn't because you want to be a better parent or better partner, use some essential oils and help to retrain your mind to break up patterns that don't work for you and bring your personality into balance. As we close out, I just want to remind you, we're all so much the same. Again, we're all going through trials and difficulties in our life, and it's part of how we learn and grow as human beings. And as you go through these trials, I do believe that you can be happy, and I do believe that essential oils are one of the ways in which you can bring balance to your own personality, to your family's life, and again, I emphasize the possibility that you can live happy and enjoy life without a lot of ups and downs just by enjoying the blessing of essential oils in your life.